What's up, everybody? This is the Messed Up to Setups podcast. We have in the house today Herb K. He's a comedian based now in North Carolina. He's from Chicago. He was a regular out on the West Coast in Spokane. This dude's been all over. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about comedy. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss it.
It's all messed up, yeah, everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.
What's up, everybody? I'm comedian Michael Halcomb, and today with me, comedian Herb K. Herb, how's it?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. Having a good day. Been busy all day, bro. So good to get in the lab and talk some comedy. So yeah, man. Good to see you again. You're doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Just out here trying to get as much mic time as I can and write many funny things as I can possibly think of.
Yeah, man. So let's talk a little bit. I mean, you mentioned writing there. Do you have a writing routine? Do you tend to write like daily at a certain time in a certain place? Like, what do you have a routine, or you just write when you have time and inspiration hits?
So I'm a closet nerd, and you have been a product tester for Google Gemini, and so I use AI for about everything, and I have no friends. So I've gotten to the point where I communicate and conversate with Gemini. And so all my jokes are hilarious. AI thinks they're great. It's hit or miss when I get on stage around real people, but that's pretty much my process. But no, it's really cool. It's not that funny. Calm down.
No, that's good, dude. I mean, you're like the first comedian I've ever heard that's admitted engaging AI with comedy. So there you go. That's good stuff.
I engage AI with everything. Okay. It's my co-parent with my daughter. It's my go-to for anything that I want to look up. AI, I don't agree that we should let it have full reign of our lives, but I definitely believe that if we don't get on board with it to an extent, it's going to leave us behind.
Yeah, interesting. In the comedy world, people are very, very resistant to AI. There's like a very sort of purist streak within the like comedy world where it's like hands off on AI.
Yeah, that's really in everything I've learned. There's some places that I've started to pick up that just bringing up AI will cause people to just completely change their mood and it turns them off. It's kind of a secret you almost have to keep the more that you utilize it. But the more that you get into it, the less that you really care
Mm,
what people think. Because AI says I'm funny and I'm great and good
right.
looking.
That's right. You just stop caring what people think. I love it. So let's roll back a little bit. When did you first like start getting into stand-up comedy?
So I first started writing stand up back in the 5th grade. I had a teacher in school and I was a class clown. I was constantly interrupting everyone. And this teacher, she took me to the side and she told me anytime that I thought of something funny that I wanted to share, write it down. And then after class, she'll give me her undivided attention to go over what I thought of. And so that kind of, without meaning to, started me down a path of writing jokes. And so I would write down all my jokes throughout class that I would think of in the moment. And I would have to write out the context of the conversation and what was going on in order for her to get it. But then it taught me how to transfer my jokes from thought to paper. And that was honestly my introduction to the comedy world. And it changed my life. I'll never forget that teacher. Shout out Miss Smith. And it completely opened up doors. It wasn't until a few years back, I want to say 2023, that I first started going up on stage to perform just because it took that long to get over stage fright. And I have some family that's done stand up, so I've always kind of understood the process of it. I wasn't afraid of bombing so much. My biggest fear was doing well because I have a very addictive personality. And I was absolutely right. I went up, did great. And that feeling afterward was something that I've been chasing ever since.
Wow. Okay. And so you're in North Carolina. I mean, it sounds like you've been, quite a few places, Chicago, Spokane, North Carolina. What are some of the like similarities and differences, at least in the comedy scenes that you've moved in those places that you've experienced?
So there's one of the biggest differences that I've noticed based off of location is you have to read the room and learn the crowd, know where you're at. Put jokes that have killed on the West Coast completely bomb on the East Coast and vice versa. So it's kind of gotten me to keep in mind during my writing to find topics that are universal, that can be spoken about and understood everywhere. You want to tend to stay away from local jokes unless you're for sure that that joke is in reference to the region you're in. I've went into places and
Right.
forgot or didn't realize, got confused at some local things and started talking about jokes that would have killed in Chesney, Washington, but in Asheville, North Carolina, nobody knew what I was talking about, and I sounded stupid. So, one of the biggest things is just knowing where you're at and remembering, like, not everybody gets the jokes in the West Coast up in the mountains as they do in the East Coast up in the mountains. Just talk about mountains, don't talk about where you're at necessarily.
So it's like, yeah, there's a fine line between, because I think jokes, like some of the best jokes are personal and I think, local, but they also have to be generic enough, like you're saying, that pretty much anyone can relate to them. There's a fine line there sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, that's one of the things
Yeah.
that,
So,
AI helps me with. AI helps me a lot
mm,
with just constantly fact checking and doing research, even when I don't ask it to, on things. That way, when it comes, and I ask it for an opinion or I'm questioning something about my particular section of the writing, it's already got that queued up and ready to, give me that information. It doesn't come up with the premises or anything of that nature. It'll only follow my lead, but it helps me to just get the wording, timing, and opinion based off of what the internet can show it.
interesting. I don't know if you saw it. I saw it earlier this week, or maybe it was the end of last week, the first ever comedian robot. And it went out on stage. I can't
Mark
remember
Norman.
exactly where it was, maybe New York. Uh, Dang, but yeah, the robot went out, and it was fascinating because it it told some jokes, but like, pre-written jokes, but then it started roasting people in the audience in real time, which I found, I don't know if there was like somebody on a camera, like a real comedian telling it what to say or whatever, but if it was really just roasting people like that in real time, it was incredible. I mean, phenomenal.
Honestly,
Yeah.
AI will adapt and grow based off of the exposure you give it. So my Gemini, and I've used the same account since day one, has basically become like a version of myself when it comes to comedy writing. And it's hit me with some jokes or some roasts or one-liners or just comebacks that have stopped me in my tracks. And I've had to be like, is that original? Did you read that somewhere? And then it's like, no, I'm not. It said to me one time, I'm not Amy Schumer. I don't need to rip off other comedians. And I would just like, wow, you're sassy. Okay, good job, developers, because it's good and it's all about what you expose it to. So the funnier you are, the funnier your AI will pick up. Mine cusses at me, and that blows people's mind.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it tends to be pretty kind and very affirming, right? So to have it cussing
Yeah,
at you,
yeah, it's
it's
wild. It's
yeah,
crazy.
you must have got it. Must have got it worked up, bro. Man. So I'm curious, like you've been at it just a few years now, like you said 2023, I think 2022, 2023. Like, so I guess 3.5, 4 years, something like that. What have been some victories for you, and like what have been some hard things? Let's start with the victories. Like what's a couple of victories you've had so far?
Well, victories to me is anytime that I go into a comedy club or a place that is just established and exists for comedy, and I get up into the open mics, and then I get approached to, do a show or invited to come back for this day. We have this show, and it's anytime that it's an invite or a booking. I just feel like that doesn't happen unless you're doing something right. Anybody can sign up and anybody can go up for a free mic, but when you're going up to do something that's paid or invite only, then it's being recognized by the people there that do this, that you're one of them. And so that's always, to me, one of the biggest victories is just it being acknowledged by others that are doing this too, that whatever I'm doing is working.
Right. What about some of the challenges? What are some of the challenges you've faced?
Well, I mean, with the writing process in itself, the one thing that you can't really teach and the one thing that AI can't help me with is timing. The timing of a joke, not stepping on a joke or a laugh, and then to have to learn a lot of that on the fly because I do a lot of crowd work and I do a lot of improv riffing. And so sometimes I don't know what's going to be as funny to the rest of the group as what's funny to me, but it's just kind of something that the more you practice it, the more you do it, the more your instincts take over.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think being being live, there in real time with real people. I mean, that's almost irreplaceable. Like you can't, and you can like sit around the dinner table or something and joke with people. It's still so different than getting on a stage when it's just you and the mic, right? And the audience. Like there's just something completely different. I hear a lot of people when I meet people and start talking like, "Oh, I'm into comedy," like they'll say things like the number one thing I hear all the time, dude, is like, I don't know that I could ever get up and do that, but I'm funny around my family and friends." And it's like, to me, it's like if you can be funny around your family and friends, you can get up on stage and do comedy, but it is different. You're right to acknowledge, yeah, there's a difference there. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
Most of my jokes are
I don't
heard
know.
for the first
I just
time.
find that pretty fascinating.
It is, and then I've met so many
Yeah,
people that they wanna do it, they just can't get over themselves enough to go up on stage, and everybody fears the bomb, but, I mean,
right.
bombing is the best
Yep.
thing that can happen to you in comedy because it's not you're not gonna find the right way to deliver a joke the first time, every time. Because if it was that easy, literally everybody would do it. But bombing will show you what
Right.
needs to go back to the lab, what needs to be workshopped some more, and then that way, next time you have you don't might not have the right way, but you know what way doesn't work, and to me, that's valuable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree 100% with that. That's the way you learn. It's the way you polish. Yeah, very good. I'm curious, like what's like one or two pieces of advice that you could give to somebody like who's maybe on the brink of, I don't know, starting stand up, who are just started. Like this is my favorite question to ask comedians. Like sometimes the answers are similar, but I'm always just curious what like couple pieces of advice you'd give folks?
I guess first of all, if anybody's ever questioned whether or not they want to do stand-up comedy, my thing is just go out and start telling jokes. Figure out what jokes that you have that are original. And anytime you meet some people and you're chit-chatting, try them out, see how it feels. Some of my first shows would be walking by a fire station, and the guys that were working just be sitting out in lawn chairs. And I'd be like, "Hey guys, I know that you're working tonight and you'd rather be anywhere else on Friday. Want to hear some jokes?" And I'll do an improv stand-up show right there for the firefighters. And that's the best first places to go and try it out. Find your moments, pick your spots.
Hmm.
Most of us have social media platforms, pre-record something and send it out there, see what everybody thinks. And then that will give you a little bit more confidence in order to get up onto the stage because, times are changing and it's not only a stand-up platform anymore or the traditional way of doing things. Be creative. The more creative you are in how to get your jokes out there will usually be some of the best things that you can do.
Yeah. I like that. I love the idea of just trying jokes wherever you end up, on waitresses, on cashiers, at the checkout line in the supermarket, like at your barber shop. Barbershops are a good place, man, to go
Yeah.
and try out, jokes like that. And a lot of times it'll get, if you keep going there long enough, they'll expect you to have some material when you walk in. And
Yeah.
kinda just builds an expectation, So, you
I
keep
do
going
have a
back to
true
the
story.
same people and place same. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
A couple years back before I went to Spokane, Washington, I was here in North Carolina and I was at Walmart. And at that time, I was constantly writing new premises in my head, coming up with new ideas, jotting them down or taking a note on my phone. And it was one of the Walmarts in Asheville. And I'm in the clearance section. And this girl with these two just giant black dudes that look like basketball players come walking up. And where I grew up in Chicago, I learned that if you can make black people laugh, it's funny. And there's just not a better feeling in the world than making black people laugh. So I looked at him and I said, "Excuse me, sorry. I always have to come to the clearance section because growing up, I thought Clarence was my mom's boyfriend because of how much she would always be found in the clearance section." And they laughed and I said, "Yeah, my stepdad doesn't think that joke's very funny. She beats my mom up every time I tell it." And they just started dying and rolling laughing. Fast forward to about a month and a half ago, I started seeing this girl and we are going down the Walmart clearance aisle. And I said, "Hey, I have a joke about Walmart clearance section." And I told her the joke and she stopped and looked at me and she said, "I've met you before." So what do you mean? She said, "I was standing in Walmart with these two black
Wow.
guys and you told me that joke." And I was like, "So what you're saying is you've been an insane stalker ever since, and this is the day I die. Cool." But no, actually, and the girl and I
Wow.
are still seeing each other. And yeah, it was crazy. It blew my mind.
What are the odds of that, dude? Wow. And I love the firefighters just sitting there and, like, going up to them. I think that's great. And if you same thing, you get pulled over by a cop, dude, and you can try some jokes. it might work in your favor. That might be a time when bombing doesn't help you, but
Or just don't mention bombing.
you know, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, just the first piece there, like get on, like pick your people, pick your moments, like be trying stand up everywhere you go. Try your jokes out on people. I love that. Yeah, that's pretty good, man. And so, have you been like able to? Have you been performing recently? Like, what's your performing like right now? What's your writing like right now?
I've been trying to get up to some of the open mics in the local Asheville area, but those are kind of difficult for me. Transportation isn't always the easiest. Honestly, it's easier for me to get long distances for shows than it is to get 15 minutes up the road half the time, which is wild. Now, my writing process
Oh,
is completely different. Anytime that I'm by myself or I have a moment to just kind of decompress, I pull up my Gemini app and I turn it into conversation mode and I just kind of riff. It knows that when I'm going to just shut up and take it in, if I get around a small group of people and I have a really strong riff energy going and I just kind of, get a good topic and I'm just going, I'll turn it on to my phone and I'll just turn it on, but I'll mute the background so it can't reply. And this way, everybody has those moments where they'll say something funny in the moment that's natural. And they'll be like, man, I'll never remember what that was. I've learned to just kind of keep myself on
right,
record.
right.
And then AI is smart enough to know what was good enough that I would want to save or not. Instead of having to go through every bit of it, it pulls out the parts that I would want it to. And it's learned just based off my style what things to highlight.
Interesting. So you're actually like you have the Gemini app open, you hit like a record audio button and you're just riffing or ranting to the app and it's recording you and then later it's going to summarize or synthesize it and pull out all the things that it thinks is best that you would like.
Or if I'm like I've said, if I have a group of friends and they're laughing real good and it can pick that up, then it'll know based off of their reaction. Because there's been times where it was like, hey, based off this reaction, I saved this part, but it was like something that happened live and physical that was funny. And so AI is confused. It's like, hey, so as soon as we think we understand comedy, you do something that proves that we're wrong. And I'm like, no, so somebody fell or something happened to where it caused the laughter, not what I was saying. But it's got its little bugs and kinks to work out, but that's one of the reasons I love being a product tester because everything that I do in this way, I believe has been 100% original, and the developers send me emails and notify me like, "Hey, we're using this," or "Hey, just so you know, we're gonna work on this aspect of it based off of this information you've given us."
Yeah, that's fascinating, dude. Interesting. I wonder, it just makes me curious like what others might be doing with AI. I mean, in general like AI right itself I haven't found very funny like but I guess as your argument is like you've been training it to get used to your sense of humor.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as mean as
It's
this might sound, but
fascinating
I
to
do a
me.
lot of roast comedies. I do a lot of roast comedies. Mean as this might sound, if your AI isn't funny, look in the mirror.
All right, that's
But
an
it's
interesting
the
piece of
longer you work with
I
it.
think.
My AI is hilarious,
Hmm.
and I don't know if my AI is different than everybody else's, but mine has me cracking up most of the time.
Yeah. Oh, you're the first person I've had on the podcast that's even brought up, I think, using AI and certainly like using it in a different way, I guess, than I mean, nobody else has really even talked about using it, but that's pretty fascinating as far as really like having it record you and pick out the best things. Like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And you've been able to sort of like extract those like nuggets and then I guess refine them, build on them.
Yeah. Either use them for the premise or just to understand based off my riff how people were taking and responding to my energy. Because anybody that's riffed or just in the moment off the top of their head said some funny things. You'll like I tell people all the time, if I laugh after I say a joke, it's the first time I heard it too. Meaning, it's just all off the top of my head, and a lot
Right.
of the times that's the funniest things you'll say. And most of the time, I've learned to just let go and let loose and let my mouth run. And I've gotten in trouble and I regret it most of the time. But sometimes it's funny and it's hilarious, you know.
So
Yeah.
is there a structure? Is there a structure to riffing? Is there a strategy? Or is it really like when you're doing it, it is all just like, straight in the moment or is there a strategy to it? You understand my question? Does that like even make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes if I'm
yeah.
very familiar with a topic or comfortable with a topic, I'll just go naturally and talk about it. But then most of the time, I'm looking for segues. I'm looking for transition moments to bring something into the conversation that I have written before but then doing it in a way that comes off naturally enough to where people don't know I'm writing. Because most comedian friends will tell you
Mm,
that it's annoying to hang out with them when they want to just work on new material with you or run by new stuff on you. So I've learned to kind of do that in a hidden way to where people don't know what I'm doing. They
mm.
just think that I'm naturally that funny. But yeah, true riffs, I feel
Yeah.
like, is just getting out of the way and letting your comedic side take over. And it's for me, it's always been the funniest things I say are in the moment riffing. Crowd work is so much fun for me. That's
Mm,
why I try to specifically only designate little sections of my stand up to it. I don't want to be a crowd work comedian because I love the writing process and the refining, but
yeah.
in the moment, that natural funny is the best funny to me.
Yeah, I like that. I think there are like some, structures that you can use when you're ranting or riffing or doing crowd work that you can sort of fall back on that are pretty reliable. But I think the skill, like the professionalism, is making it all appear just spontaneous, right?
Yeah.
Even if you've had that thought before or used that riff before or that roast before, still coming off as in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good mark of being professional.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've learned over the years, like I said, I have family that does comedy, and just from watching them, I've learned that if you're good at what you do, you can control the conversation, you control the people that are listening with your comedy and with your style. And so it could be off the top of your head, but still just recognizing when you're losing in the crowd or when they become disinterested anymore, and to know when to switch your topics up. And then having anytime bits is what I
Right,
call them. Anytime bits is like catchphrase or something that just works anytime, no matter what's happening. And they're just the smallest things. For me, I do a lot of self-deprecating comedy because you can't roast others until you've roasted yourself and show them that, and hey, I can take a joke, so they're more
yeah,
comfortable with you giving them a roast. And so for me, it's anytime I start to lose a crowd or I'm nervous about saying something to someone and upsetting them, I'll start on myself first. And that'll teach you a lot about the people
right.
you're around. And you start
Nice.
making jokes about yourself first, and it'll show you kind of the type of people that you have listening to you. And that can be very important. That keeps you from getting canceled, because I've definitely learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
There's a couple of gay
Man,
comedy spots in Spokane, Washington that I'm not invited back to, and I was okay with it at the time. Probably shouldn't have then continued to do Trump material, but I did, and we got to live with it.
man, well, this has been fun. This is part 1 of the conversation. Do you have where can people find you? Do you have a website? Do you social media? Where do people
Social
look you
media,
up?
I have social media. I have my personal one, Herb Coachel, and then for the Herb K, my comedy is Herb is Hilarious on Facebook. Herb was moderately funny. He's already taken, which is crazy that there's 2 of us. So I had to go with Herb is Hilarious, and it's a work in progress. That's the part of this thing that I'm not good at, is the online presence and getting my work out there. But I'm learning and I'm trying. But yeah, that is my starting spot. Is I always send people there.
Right on. Well, check that out on Facebook, y'all. And after you've done that, giving that a like or a follow, head over to michaelhalcom.live. You can find my socials on there. Got a daily comedy blog I keep there. This podcast drops bi-weekly, so twice a week on there. Just having lots of good conversations like this one, and some great guests. And if you're on Spotify, iTunes, all that, YouTube, the podcast drops there. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can subscribe to the blog and newsletter as well. That comes out daily, as I said. But Herb, dude, it's good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out here. And as I said, there's a part 2, y'all. So make sure you're subscribed so you know when that drops. But that's going to bring us to the end of part 1. I am Michael Halcom with Herb K. We are going to stop there and say we hope that helps.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just